but there are actually 7 PTACs in the state of California. And so there's NorCal that basically is serving that green area that you see basically from Oregon border down here to Santa Clara County. And the upper northeast side is the California capital. We're the Central Coast, Central Valley. There's the Monterey Bay PTAC, and then below us in the yellow is the Golden State PTAC. Then you have the Los Angeles, and then the Riverside, and then down in the San Diego over to Yuma is the San Diego PTAC. One of the things about the PTACs is that Vanessa kind of touched on is it is our mission, Billy, to help you get into government contracting. So it's not just like today's presentation really is going to focus on the Navy, but as a way to kind of maybe get you started into government contracting, maybe we'll say, hey, the low hanging fruit for you is going to be selling to your local city, county, or maybe to the state. So we'll kind of show you the mechanics of how you get that going, et cetera. So that's important for you to understand is that, you know, we're here to help, and basically we'll find what's kind of the path of least resistance for you to be successful with your small business. The service we provide is first and foremost, it's just one-on-one meeting with you, either in person, on the phone, in a Zoom meeting to kind of learn about your business, what you've done in the past, what you're up to now, where you'd like to go with government contracts. So we learn basically about your capacity, et cetera, and then kind of make kind of determination, the strategy of, okay, what are going to be the next steps so that you can start you know, winning some contracts. Part of that process will be, we'll teach you where you got to go to find where these contract opportunities are posted. So that's an important part of the preliminary thing. Another aspect of it is, especially in the federal marketplace, and now it's being adopted a lot by the state, is there's like a marketing piece that's called a capability statement that we teach people what those are, what it should look like. Have you draft a copy, send it to us, give you some feedback on it, but it has some important information in a format that government really likes to see. It just kind of like a brief synopsis. It's a one-page, basically call it a line card on your business, but it's just a nice tool that makes it really easy. It's nice too, like if you're in an event like this, you can hand it to other people and quickly they have a sense of who you are, what you do. If you're out at various outreach events where maybe, you know, it's an industry day where there might be representatives of a lot of different, say, government agencies there. Again, it's something that you can hand to people. Post-award assistance is that sometimes, you know, you'll submit a bid or proposal and you don't win it. So then we can kind of talk to you about it. There is some processes that in the federal marketplace, you can ask for a debriefing. So you can ask, hey, why didn't I get this contract? They'll tell you. If it's something that it looks like maybe there may be something shady going on, you could actually then file for what's called a bid protest. So we can kind of counsel you on whether that even makes sense for you or not. There's a lot of timelines that are involved in the process like that, and it can be really lengthy. And really, oftentimes is it really something that happened that shouldn't have happened, or is it just your ego that you thought you should have been doing it? Because going through a bid process is complicated and it costs you money. So unless the contract is worth a lot of money, then probably it's not worth your time and effort into doing something like that. So we kind of coach you on that. Training events. So basically, in the past, we were all doing a lot of events like we're doing today, just kind of informally about what we are and maybe on a specific topic. Now it seems like all the PTACs are doing webinars on a variety of different topics. So they're a fantastic way for you to learn about a lot of different specific aspects of selling to the government. But as I mentioned, the bid match. Bid match, if you're not familiar with the term, is basically, there are companies out there that set up that they can go out and search literally thousands of government procurement websites where opportunities are posted. What the PTAC will do is work with you to set up a profile for us to upload into those systems So that rather than you going to all these various websites yourself, you just get an email that says, here are opportunities that match your profile. It varies. I know with us, we offer that for free. Some of the others offer minimal costs like $150 per year or something like that. But even the ones that do charge, they typically give you like a 30-day trial period to see if it makes any sense for your business or not. Vanessa touched a little bit too, and I know the SBA is going to talk about certifications, so you can get certified as woman-owned businesses, minority, 8A, HubZone, et cetera. One of the things that we like to do is really talk to you to see if it even makes sense for your business. You can go online and you can see which type of contracts, what kind of industries that you're seeing a lot of set-asides for the socioeconomic category that you're part of. If you're not seeing any, the likelihood of you seeing some in the future is probably not going to happen. So it's not really worth you spending all the time collecting all the supporting documentation they require if you're just not going to see any opportunities. So that's one of the things. And if we do see a lot of them, then we can help you understand the process, the supporting documentation that's required, et cetera. So we help go through that. She mentioned again, just no fees or commitments. So that's what's great. You know, you put your tax dollars at work. Although we're funded by the Department of Defense, basically any federal agency you want to sell to, like we do a lot of work with helping clients do work with the Department of Agriculture, mainly like the Forest Service. So we've got a lot of clients that are involved in responding to forest fires. So we work with them, help them get registered with CAL FIRE, help them get registered with U.S. Department of Forestry, so that again, when fires happen, they're out there performing the work. Lastly, I'll say some of the things we don't do, because we do get calls or people registering for our services, et cetera, is that we don't help with like helping you find loans, financing, those kinds of things. We don't help you with employment issues you might have, accounting. Basically, our entire focus is helping you learn how to market your products and services to the government, and that's basically what we do. So with that, thank you for your time. Hand it over to Vanessa.
Thank you, Victor. Any yours, Victor? Thank you, Victor. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that a business can work with multiple PTACs. You're not tied to just one PTAC. We have businesses that are doing work on the East Coast. So of course, you know, a PTAC up in the East Coast knows that market better than we do. So you're not just tied to working with one PTAC. You can work with multiple PTACs, you know, depending on what your needs are. If you're wanting more, somebody who has expertise in the state of Washington, you know, I would forward you to Jeremy because he's very familiar with, you know, what's happening in the state of Washington. So just so you know, and not all PTACs their services are free. Some do have a nominal fee for bid matching. So, you know, on their website, when you take a look at it, it'll let you know I would probably say what about 90% of PTACs are free, you know, with all their, Victor? Yeah, with their services. And just like I said, we all have different expertise in how we work with clients. So each PTAC works with clients in a different manner. Our PTAC, we're more hands-on. So, you know, we help our businesses, you know, sometimes they're taking baby steps. White Air workflow, they're trying to submit an invoice, you know, we'll set up a Zoom and walk them through that process. Or IPP, you know, we help them through that process, you know, providing them, you know, samples that SBA has on their website, like a joint venture agreement, you know, we'll give them the information and it says sample on it. So we do advise our businesses, you know, look to see how it matches what your company does. You know, don't just fill in the blanks, you know, go in and actually read it, modify it to fit the needs of what your partnership is going to look at like, and what it is that you're going to be doing as far as moving forward, capturing opportunities. So those are some of the things that you as a business should, consider. We're here to help you be successful, but you know your business better than we do. We can't help you with pricing. All we can do is tell you what past history, if it's been awarded, this is what it was awarded for. How they came to that price, we don't know, but at least it gives you an idea of where you may or may not, need to be, depending on, the economy now, materials, labor, things like that. So those are things that, we can provide you information on. Jeremy's great at pulling forecasted information. He can give you spreadsheets with pivot tables and all the bells and whistles that you may want. So, utilize your PTAC, get as much information as you can. We're a resource here for you. And sometimes, we do get quite a few, calls and requests. So, patience is the key to a successful business or the key to life. So, we're here to help you, and, but you gotta let us know what you need. We don't read minds, okay? And Julie, I'd like to introduce Julie Klaus. She is a district director with the Small Business Administration in San Francisco. So Julie.
Good morning, everyone. So today I am going to kind of give you the super quick overview of SBA. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to kind of run through the certification programs rather quickly. Because each one of those, we could spend easily an hour on each one if we want to take the deeper dive. But we do have lots of trainings about these specific programs too. So it's always good to watch our website. We have a calendar of events. We tried to get all of our resource partners to actually put their stuff in there. So you kind of have a one-stop calendar rather than going to like 12 websites and trying to look at all those calendars, which can get overwhelming, I know. So we actually have one with I'm actually participating with our NorCal PTAC next week on an 8A deeper dive too, so webinar. So, but for SBA, for those of you who may know a little bit about us, who may not know the full spectrum, we are an independent federal agency dedicated solely to small businesses. That's all we do. We are not part of Commerce. We are an independent agency. So our administrator does speak directly with the president and communicate issues of concern and things that we need to support our small business community. My office, we service 14 counties, kind of Santa Cruz, all the way up to the Oregon border, and I go inland about as far as Davis. We have 5 other SBA offices in the state. So wherever you are located, you definitely have services in your neighborhood. And everything that SBA does really can be divided into what I call these 4 buckets. We've got the financial assistance, we've got the government contracting piece, we've got business advising, and then disaster assistance, which unfortunately has been the bucket we've been living in for the last 2+ years. But now it's time to go back to the other buckets, because as a business owner, I think it's incumbent to now talk about how we get you earning revenue, how we get you back on track if you've had some hiccups due to the pandemic for the last couple of years and the slowdowns. But as far as capital goes, we do have a variety of programs that run the gamut, whether it's micro lending of $50,000, all the way up the other end of the spectrum, venture capital. Yes, SBA does have venture capital programs, small business investment companies. And that's actually some of our biggest success stories. And I will bet probably half of you are holding one of our success stories. Little company called Apple. I think they were still in the garage when they got the SBA funding. But it just goes to show you everybody starts small. And in between, we have our guaranteed loans. And this is kind of what I'll call our bread and butter program, if you will. The 7A, very cleverly named because it's Section 7A of the Small Business Act. We're very original. And then 504, which is more of a fixed asset financing program, which is great if you're going to buy owner-occupied real estate or land if you want to build a building or a facility for your business. Very favorable terms, usually much more favorable than trying to do it conventionally. And we are a guarantor program, so we are not a direct lender, but we work with probably every bank you can think of. And then we also have a lot of nonprofit lenders, and we're trying to onboard even more of them, CDFIs and others. The great thing with the nonprofit lenders is that they tend to look a little more holistically at the business. So if you're going for your first loan, perhaps, and you don't necessarily have a long track record, and COVID threw you for a loop, as it did almost everybody, these nonprofit lenders, they tend to take all of that in consideration and put you in the perspective that you are in when they're making their financing decisions. I'm going to skip the contracting bucket for a second, go to business advising. So you've met the PTAC. While they're funded by DOD, we do consider them a great resource partner. We also have similar programs that we fund: small business development centers, SCORE, women business centers, and veteran business outreach centers. What they all have in common is no cost business advising. And they are great. While PTAC specialize in contracting, these other resources can cover everything else. So if you are struggling to get your accounting on track, or maybe you're time to hire your first employee and you want to make sure you do it the right way, all the I's dotted, T's crossed, or you're like, I'm online because we had to in the last 2 years, but I think I can have a stronger online presence, anything of that nature, they're there to help you with, and at no cost to you. Same with the PTAC advisors. They are located everywhere, and we have a tool on our website where you can type in your zip code and find the ones that are geographically closest to you, or you can call us at the district office and we'll tell you who's in your neighborhood as well. And then the disaster assistance, for all of the COVID-related financing programs, those have all sunset, those have all run out of funding. But our traditional disaster program, if you will, is one where we go in on natural disasters, whether it's a presidentially declared disaster and we go in with FEMA, or we also have the ability to come in just SBA if a state governor appeals to us and asks for support for maybe some localized flooding or drought and other things that have occurred and impacted a community. And in that case, we have the physical loans to replace or repair structures from homes to businesses, everything in that case, or the economic injury, which was a little known program until a pandemic hits and all you have is economic injury. So let's talk some more about contracting and the certifications. So what does SBA do? What role do we play in this world? I think everybody knows we do a variety of certifications on behalf of the federal government, but we're also, we have a role, I'll call kind of behind the scenes as well. SBA, we are your small business advocate in the federal space. We have the ability to set the goals for all of our federal agencies. So that's their small business goal, and then the goals across the different socioeconomic categories. And then what we do is we rate them on how well they did against those goals. And we put out a scorecard every year. And the latest scorecard was just released. Happily, the government did meet its 23% goal. I think it was 27% last year. We did okay in most of the categories. There's a couple. Women fell just short of the 5% goal, and HUBZone fell short of its goal. But the small disadvantaged business and the veteran goals were met. So we are there trying to get agencies to utilize all of these programs. We are there working with the policymakers in Washington to try to make sure that procurement policies are not disadvantaging small businesses. Category management, kind of an issue that we're trying to tackle and disband. Used to be contract bundling, and I know that still happens. We have people that work at big installations and others that are trying to unbundle those contracts so we can make more opportunities available for the small business community. So there is also a lot that goes on kind of invisible to most people, but it is happening because obviously the government is the largest buyer of goods and services in the world. And we want to make sure you can try to get your piece of that pie. And we also know that small businesses are great to do business with, right? You tend to be less bureaucratic because you tend to be, maybe you have one box and that's you, but otherwise, but you are making the decisions, you are controlling that. You have the ability to adapt and flex as things may change. And that's great when you're working on a contract, because anybody worked with somebody, it doesn't even have to be the federal government, that you're halfway through and all of a sudden they change things on you, the scope changes, or they decide they need something different. And typically small businesses are better able to adapt to those conditions. So it is great for the federal agencies to work with small businesses. And we try to remind them of that all the time. But, so the overall goals oops, I didn't realize this was animated. You can see the overall goals for the government. There are talks of raising some of these, and hopefully that will go through. I don't know if it'll hit for the 2023 fiscal year or sometime during the fiscal year, but they are trying to raise the overall small business goal and the small disadvantaged business. The 8A program kind of fits in under that small disadvantaged business bucket. And so those 8A numbers roll into that goal category. So certifications. I like to think of certifications as a tool. This is a tool that will hopefully help your business, help you get business and help you to break into contracting or increase your success in contracting. I'm not a big proponent of going out and getting everything that you qualify for just because you qualify for it. You want to make sure that it's going to actually do something for your business. Because I'll be honest, you know, federal, state, local, we all have certifications. They're all different. And the paperwork's going to kill you. So you want to make sure that this is a tool that is going to actually benefit your business. And there are ways to do that, at least on the federal side. The information is publicly available. So I always encourage people to do some market research first. And we talked about, you know, who's spending in your NAICS code, probably everybody in some degree, but how are they spending and who are they spending it with? And all of that information is freely available for you to utilize. It's important to do a little bit of homework too, because getting these certifications doesn't mean you're automatically going to get contracts. It can help. It's definitely a step in the right direction, but it doesn't necessarily mean you will automatically, there's no guarantee of contracts. You still need to do the work and still market yourself to the federal government and show them how and why you're better, faster, smarter than the other guys. And then it's an, oh, by the way, I'm also 8A, or I'm a woman-owned small business, or I'm whatever your categories might be. So we do have a variety of programs. There are some that are certifications that you have to apply for through SBA, and others that we call self-certifying, meaning if you look at the regulations and what the criteria are, like small business, for example, and you fit the definition of small business, you can just hold yourself out as a small business. You don't have to get a piece of paper from SBA that says you are a small business. Now, if it's a small business set-aside contract and one of your competitors who did not get awarded doesn't think you're a small business, they can protest that. And then at that point, you will have to demonstrate that you are a small business. But the self-certification ones are easy in the sense that you just read the qualifications and see if you meet them. The others are ones that you do have to apply for. Veterans is coming sometime in 2023. I don't know the exact date for certain, but it is an actual certification that SBA is going to take over from VA and expand it government-wide. And we will, I'm sure, be marketing that like crazy when we have the process ready and people have the ability to actually start the application process. But let's take a little bit look at these. 8A is probably one people are maybe most familiar with. I will also say it is the most robust of all of these programs in the sense that it is a business development program, first and foremost, which has contracting benefits, but it is a business development program. So it is limited to 9 years of eligibility in the program. And it's a one-time shot. So you can only apply once and stay in it for up to 9 years. But the benefits in this program are that you get some help and assistance. We try to make sure you're connected to the right resources. It could be PTAX. It could be some of the other resources we provide. We do have programs like a product called BidSpeed that we have contracted with to provide free to 8A firms and others, which is, if you've ever heard of like Deltec or any of those commercial packages that are out there, it's similar to that. It's not quite as robust as some of the others, but it does consolidates all of the offers and opportunities that are out there. It has a lot of training, it has templates, and it also has an ability to connect to potentially find other partners, whether it's a teaming partner or a potential joint venture partner. If you see an opportunity out there and you're like, hey, I can do parts A, B, and C, but I can't do D and E, you can throw out there as like almost like a fishing expedition, if you will, and say, hey, does anybody want to partner with me on this and do parts D and E? I got A, B, and C. and just see if you can find some potential partners that way as well. But so those kinds of tools are there to support the business while they're going through their 9 years. But the biggest, I think, selling point for most people is the sole source authority. So most federal contracts are let either through a competitive scenario. It could be a set aside, or it could just be what we call full and open, which means everybody and their brother is eligible to apply. Set aside means only the people that meet that set aside criteria, small business, 8A, hub zone, et cetera, can apply. Or sole source means that if you go out, you've marketed yourself to the agencies, can we pick on Navy tonight? And you've done a really good job. And they've got your capability statement, and they're like, you know what? We actually have a need for this. And they have the ability, depending on the size of the award, usually $4.5 million or less, to be able to directly award a contract to you and avoid competition. So 8A is the only program that allows it in that very robust way. You will see direct awards, sole source awards in other programs like women owned, et cetera, but usually there's a justification that has to go along with it. 8A, there is no justification. If you have done a good job marketing yourself, the agency has a need for what you're offering, and it's usually, depending on the type of contract, under $4.5 million, they can directly offer you that award. And the benefit is obviously you can see the direct fruits of your labor, and the agencies, it makes those contracting officers' life a little bit easier too, less paperwork for everybody. So that's a win-win. And the nice thing, when they put program or opportunities into the 8A program, they stay in the 8A program unless and until an agency asks us to remove it. And we don't just automatically remove things. We do make them go through a process to justify why it needs to be removed, and what, usually we ask them what else they're going to put into the program, so we keep opportunities. So the nice thing is if, let's say you are 8A and you've been servicing this contract and you are graduating. So you're, the base year and the 5 or 4 option years are finished. You graduated. They unfortunately can't give you another 8A contract. But let's say you come along and you are 8A. You have the same, industry capabilities and everything. They need to keep it in the 8A program. They can then look to you to offer that contract. So it's nice to see this continuum for a lot of needs that are ongoing with the different agencies. But there are qualifications for this one, of course. This is for socially and economically disadvantaged business owners. So we're looking at the owners of the business in this particular circumstance. Obviously, you have to be a small business. You have to be at least 51% owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged business owner or owners. Control and ownership are not the same thing. Ownership is purely who owns the business. And if it's, partnership or a corporation, you have to have at least that 51%. Control is who is making the day-to-day decisions, who's actually running the business, who's calling the shots. That also needs to be what we call the disadvantaged owner. They also like to have 2 years in business already. And I say that because I've already told you it's a 9-year program and it's one shot. So if you've just started, chances are you're figuring out a bunch of things. You're trying to get your business up and running. You're trying to get settled. You might not have the time to actually devote to going out and marketing yourself and doing the research and being like a business development officer inside the federal space. So you want to make sure you're kind of already at that point where you're really ready. You've maybe got 1 or 2 employees that can help run the ship, so to speak, so that you can focus, or you can hire somebody who can focus on business development opportunities, and then you can go and meet with the different agencies. So you really want to be ready. You want to maximize those 9 years, because if we have any graduates in the room, they'd probably tell you it flies by. So you really want to maximize your time. What do we mean by social and economic disadvantage? So social is if you are in one of the designated groups. And actually, if you go into our regulations, it's actually way more explicit than what's up here. But the designated groups have a presumption of social disadvantage. If you're not in one of the designated groups, you can write a narrative to show us how you qualify under the social disadvantage. I do recommend, if you're going to write a narrative, to look at the regulations and actually read the criteria. It would be way too much for me to put on a slide, and it would be like 2-point font or something that you couldn't read. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at the regulations if you're going to write a narrative. I've seen it work in a variety of capacities. One, for example, is somebody who grew up in Appalachia and didn't have, while they did go to school, they, didn't necessarily have all of the resources that most people had. So that was one application I've seen that actually worked as a written narrative. I've seen it work for women, sometimes in industries that traditionally women have not been in. So they're kind of still have a rougher road than many and are busting those glass ceilings, so to speak. So it's not an impossible thing. It does. I have seen narratives successfully be approved in this space. And then the disadvantage is purely financial. We're going to look at you, the owner or the owners, and to make sure that your adjusted net worth, your personal net worth is less than 750,000. And it's adjusted because we will take out any equity that you may have in a residence, your personal residence, if you have one. We will take out your business equity. And we also take out any value in like a 401k or an IRA or true retirement account that you really can't touch until you reach a certain age. And then with what's left, leaving less than 750, your average income, although this is really going to a 5-year average now of 350,000 or less. And then the market value of all your assets without adjustment, 6 million or less, which I know in California, if people own a home and, maybe a rental property, you can be up there. And I know people get a little nervous about that. We have mentioned it to Washington on numerous occasions that, hey, is there any way to look at this that is taking into account the higher cost of living in certain parts of the country? Not yet, unfortunately, but so these criteria stand, and these will be applicable through the life of your 9 years in the program. And this is something we do take a look at every year to make sure you're still eligible. Obviously we want you, one of the reasons you might be in this program is because you want to build your own personal wealth through your business, and that's great. But while you're in the program, what we're looking for you to do is reinvest into your business so it can continue to grow and you can continue to expand. I know I have a lot of business owners that, maybe had a lot of lean years. They maybe didn't pay themselves a salary, and then they're starting to get some success. And they're like, I want to take, $500,000 out of my business to reward myself for all those years I didn't get anything. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a business decision, right? If you want to stay in the program, you're going to not want to do that. You're going to want to hold off. That's.
We have a question. We have a question from somebody online.
Okay.
They want to know, is the 350,000 per year, or is it an average of 5 years?
It's an average of 3 or 5 years, whatever is most advantageous.
Okay, but $350,000.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's one other question. I know you haven't gotten there,
Okay.
but the EDWOSB certification, it's taking over a year to get certified. Has SBA shortened that time frame, or what's going on with the approval right now with EDWSB?
It should not be taking that long. So I would recommend they reach out to their local district office, wherever they're located, and see if they can inquire on their behalf. Because it's usually if everything is in place, they will do it. I think 3 to 4 months is about the longest I've seen it. 6 to 8. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is with the women owned, if they don't qualify, usually then they're giving them the decline letter, and then you have to wait 90 days to reapply. 8A, you will usually see that if you are missing a document or you have some back and forth because the whoever's reviewing your application has questions, they will tend to work with you a little bit more, so you don't have to decline and then wait and reapply. So a little bit of difference in the way that they're being managed right now. But if it's been a while, I mean, especially if it's been 6 months, you can always reach out to your local district office and say, hey, can you make an inquiry for me so we can see where this is in the process? And we'd be happy to do that for you.
Do you see more contracts under women-owned small business or the disadvantaged?
The disadvantaged women own or the,
Yeah, I just, yeah. No, I have not seen any advertised under EDWSB, only WSB.
yeah, because when you, I'll show you on the slides here, but the difference with that program is that it's limited to certain NAICS codes. So it's not every industry. It's typically the industries where women have been historically underrepresented. It has just recently expanded, so it does include quite a few NAICS codes, but you do have that limitation. So I think you will see, you might not see as many contracting opportunities that are in set asides for those two categories. But it's growing. It is growing. And you can always, like I said, you can always run those numbers yourself. USAspending.gov, I find, is probably the easiest, most user-friendly database out there if you want to get some information on, that's where every federal agency reports into all of their spend. So you're going to find more than contracts. You're going to find grants and their direct award programs or everything, but has a lot of filters and it's pretty easy to navigate. So with 8A application, you are going to go into our certified.sba.gov portal and complete an online application. There are lots of, well, before you do any of this, you're going to register in sam.gov. So if you want to, do anything with the government, you want to apply for a grant, you want to, apply to be a contractor or be a contractor at some point, you're going to have to be in sam.gov. Unfortunately, when it comes to the federal government, you don't exist unless you're in sam.gov. So that's your first entry point. Hopefully that's going a little smoother. I think it is. There was a lot of hiccups last year, but I think that's moving along a little bit smoother now. SAM is not owned by SBA, so we can't do any administrative stuff. That unfortunately you need to use the SAM help desk, but we'll try to give you any tips and tricks that we've gleaned through the years working with sam.gov. But the certified.sba.gov is our portal. And so if you have any issues using that, you can, of course, reach out to SBA so we can help you with that. There are some guides in there. There's checklists and stuff of all the documents you'll need to submit. You're pretty much going to answer a series of online questions and then upload supporting documents. These are going to be things like tax returns, financial statements, probably a resume, for the owner or owners, depending on how many have personal financial statements of the owners. So I think what else is there? Your justification, your narrative on the social disadvantage. That's only a one-time thing during the application process. And I'm sure there's other things. If you're an entity-owned firm, there'll be some documents they will want to have to show the tribal affiliation and ownership and who's overseeing it from the tribal side, et cetera. So let me quickly go through some of the others too. HubZone, unlike 8A, is a place-based. So we're not looking at the owner, we're looking at where the business is located. Historically underutilized business zone. So it's an area of low income and high unemployment. These are designated census tracts. They do change from time to time, although we typically grandfather people in. And now I think you're assured for at least a 10-year period in the program with some of the more recent tweaks to it. This is meant for businesses that are willing to be located in these hub zones. It's an economic development tool of sorts. It's like hope to revitalize and build a community. You're going to be asked to hire employees from within a hub zone. It doesn't have to be that hub zone, but any hub zone. Because again, it's meant to be an economic development tool. If you have businesses that are thriving in a certain area, hopefully that'll start to bring other businesses into the area to help support, restaurants, dry cleaners, and hopefully over time, it rebuilds an area to make it a little bit more economically vibrant. So this one is similar. You need to be 51% owned by US citizen. You have to be located in the hub zone. There are mapping tools on our website that you type in your address. It'll tell you, yes, you are, or no, you're not. But you can also use that tool to see where the hub zones might be near you. If you're not in a hub zone and are in the position of looking for a new office space, or maybe you're going from home base to an actual office space, this could be something you would like to consider. 35% of your employees have to be from living in a hub zone as well. That does include you as the owner. So if you only have 2 employees, at least one of you has to live in a hub zone. And this is something where you can be in it for as long as you qualify and you want to be in the program. So there's no time limit on this one. As long as you still meet the criteria, you can stay in the Hub Zone program. And SBA is going to ask for annual self-recertification. And then every 3 years or so, we actually do kind of a deeper dive and ask you to resubmit the documents so we can make sure you still qualify. There have been more flexibilities with this program, trying to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So, you can qualify at the time you submit the bid, meaning if your employee moves during the time you submit the bid and the time the contract's awarded, that's okay now. Used to be at time of award. So there are more flexibilities. They're trying to encourage people wanting to locate in hub zones, and then on the back end, trying to get agencies to utilize this program as well. Again, it's a online application process, and there's some good checklists and other things if you want to see what you would need to submit in order to be hub zone qualified. And again, you'll do that all online and first register and CNEM.gov.
Question. I know that one of the main vehicles that the SBA uses is the mentor protege program. Do you guys have any other vehicles like that within the SBA that can help us get closer to contract at all?
So as far as the partnerships go, the mentor protege is the only formal program that we have that can lend. I like this way. I do have a slide on mentor protege. Mentor protege is kind of the business development tool. It can lead to a joint venture, or you can joint venture with another business outside of mentor protege as well. But the joint venture is the contract piece. The mentor protege is really supposed to be business development. I always like to tell people it can be helpful to find a mentor who eventually may be a joint venture partner for you. Because during the mentor protege phase, at least, you're working with them. You as a protege have identified needs that you think that they can help you with. And this can be anything really. It can be helping you get your accounting system up to par so that you can invoice the government appropriately and get paid and not have to get stuck in invoice hell. So I see some head nods. It can be things. When I was back in DC, a lot of people used a mentor to help get top secret clearance if you needed that to access a facility from the government. There can be business development and lead generation, introductions to contracting community in the federal government, anything you identify you need. And it's great in this process because you're working with them. You can see, is this partner a good partner for me? Are they doing what they said they would do for me? Am I getting the benefits of this partnership? And this is what I call it's pretty safe space, right? It's the dating, it's the courtship period. But man, you go into a joint venture, you are married, you are in it, and you are liable to perform on that contract. So I never encourage usually joint venturing with somebody you don't know, because you want to make sure there's someone that's going to be a good partner to you and they're going to perform. They're going to do what they said they're going to do. Because if you get that joint venture and let's say it's an 8A contract and they bail on you, you still have to perform. So you want to make sure you have a good, reliable partner in that space. But there's other informal ways you can team and other things too on contracts that are not quite in the joint venture realm. And I'm trying to think, there's some other outside of contracting, or are you really just looking inside of contracting world?
Inside the contracting world, I am familiar with some of the other vehicles that the government use to contractors to engage with agencies faster or better, like CHESS, and I believe it's DISA or DISA. There's a few others, but one of the things or one of the issues that I've been having is I've already maybe submitted close to $3 million worth of contracts to the government.
Into bids, yeah.
Right, bids. And so I said I have to do something different. And so now I'm starting to take a look at some of these different vehicles here. And perhaps this can be closer to being aware of the contract.
Yeah.
And I really believe that this could help me get on the government's radar you know, for different services and, you know, products that
Yeah.
that we provide. So
If you've been the unsuccessful offeror, have you gone back to the agency to find out why?
once or twice.
Okay. I do encourage you
Yeah.
to try to, because you want to, you want to know, I mean, were they going purely with lowest price? Or were there other factors involved? It's good intel for you so that you'll know why. And those are, those are things that you can adjust. I mean, sometimes with price, you got what you got and you can't maybe lower it or do other adjustments. The thing with price too is that you may have had more, more services or things attached to that than somebody else. You might have gone above and beyond what even the RFP was asking for, which is why maybe your price, you went for the gold standard when the agency only needed the silver, so it's always good to know what that is. And that's great, if you haven't connected with a PTAC either, that's would be a great opportunity to then work with you and, look at how you're pitching and how you're responding to these. Maybe there's something they can help you with in the way you're responding, your bid, or there's more opportunities. I think like today, I want to keep going so we can have Navy come up here and talk to us too, because these opportunities to hear directly from agencies are fantastic. Even though everybody follows the same rules in the FAR, it's a little bit different in every agency. And so getting that inside information about how they're doing business and what they're looking for and what they like to see or not see, and sometimes in some of these responses, some of these bids is really good information. SBA, now that we're coming, I won't say we're coming out of the pandemic, but we've turned the corner at least on a lot of issues, and agencies are, a lot of things that maybe been on pause or on hold are starting to move again, and more opportunities are coming available. So what I think for my team is what I've wanted them to do, and we're doing a lot of this in conjunction with our NorCal PTAC, is let's create more opportunities for businesses to learn, but then also to engage with the different federal agencies that we have in our geographic area and learn how to do business with them. And then eventually, hopefully get some interactions where if you're looking for a mentor, for example, create some environment where you can meet some of these businesses and maybe find a potential mentor as well.
Right.
And then there's some tips and tricks, like especially in the 8A program, a lot of graduating 8A firms that have been successful will be looking for proteges because that helps them kind of stay connected to the program. And a lot of them, I mean, they're not 100% altruistic. There's going to be a good business decision in it. But if they have had success, a lot of them do want to give back, right? They do want to impart some of their knowledge and wisdom that they've learned to the younger businesses that are going through the program. So, let me just, so women-owned small business, just quickly again, this is on it is the beta.certified.sba.gov website. So we have certified.sba.gov. For women-owned, it is beta.certified.sba.gov. And again, this is going to provide you that in conjunction with our sba.gov/WOSB site are going to provide you with a lot of information about how you apply for the program, the checklist that you can download for the documents you're going to need and what you're going to need to show. This is again we're looking at the ownership of the business has to be at least 51% owned by a woman or group of women. And again, that's that ownership and that control that we're looking for, the day-to-day decision-making. And like I said, with this program, there are certain NAICS codes, and you can always find the latest list on our website for which NAICS codes qualify under this program. There's women-owned, and then there's the economic disadvantaged women-owned. If all economic disadvantaged women-owned small businesses are women-owned small businesses, but not all women-owned small businesses are economic disadvantaged. So you do look the same criteria we talked about with 8A on the economic disadvantage, the same criteria apply in this program as well.
So I'm assuming you automatically get women-owned small business certification if you get the certification for economic.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
all at once.
Right. If you get that one, you fit both buckets.
Or same with like the 8A. I think if you get that, the others kind of come in place with it too, because it shows you.
Yeah, you can, if you are already 8A qualified and going for that, you can show your certification. You can upload that letter. Yeah, and it'll show that you qualified as the economic disadvantage. And I thought I had the list. Here we go. In this particular case, there are some private sector third-party certifiers that are already out there, been doing WOSB certification, largely for the private sector, large primes or others, or any private sector firm, the Googles and the Facebooks and all of those guys. They may require, minority certification or women-owned certification in order to be in their supplier chain, their supplier programs. If you have one of these from one of these 4 different groups, SBA will accept their certification. They do charge because they're largely in the private sector space. SBA does not charge for any of our certifications. So if you don't have any as a woman-owned business and you want to apply, you can always do it free of charge through SBA. You do not have to use a third-party certifier. But if you've already got it, it can transfer to SBA.
Are they faster getting the certification?
They may be. I honestly can't speak to their time limits, but that'd be a good question to ask. Probably, but they have more resources. So. And then service disabled, disadvantaged veteran is looking at the 51% ownership again of the business and the qualifying disability from the Department of Defense and the paperwork that supports that. And again, self-certifying right now, so you don't have to produce any of that unless you get protested. And the mentor protege, we've already talked a little bit about that. This one's animated too. So it is for smaller business, or I won't say they're small, but they're younger businesses, I will say, when it comes to contracting, partnering with somebody, whether it's still a small business or a large business, that has the experience and expertise that they can share with you and work with you. Again, business development. There is an actual program through SBA where you can fill out a template form that identifies what the needs are as a small business and how this mentor is going to provide those needs, submit it to SBA, and then we kind of watch and see how you're doing. Report back to us every year, like, how's it going? You can get out of it. If it's not going well, you can both get out of that agreement with no adverse consequences to anybody. If it's going well, great. We like to hear that. We like to see that there's business development going on and that your needs that you've identified are being met. SBA is not going to pair you, because I don't think anybody wants the federal government matchmaking that way. But what I've said, like I said before, what I want to do more now that we're doing more in-person things is to try to create those environments where you can meet businesses that may be a potential mentor for you. Sometimes it's usually someone who's either in the same industry sector or a very complementary industry sector. They may offer you the ability to subcontract with them. They may, have other opportunities for you. But again, it's you're in the driver's seat. And I say, as a small business, own that and don't be afraid to ask for the things you need to see if that mentor is going to help you with that. So if you're really ready, you can register in sam.gov. And I would do some market research if you haven't already. So you kind of have an idea of what the federal government is buying in your industry sector and how they're buying it and from whom they're buying it. That'll at least give you some intel and figure out where you're going to fit in the mix. And maybe it'll even guide you on your marketing pitch when you go down and speak with the agencies, how to sell you to them. Maybe they've not used 8A before. Maybe you're 8A certified, but you know what? You're better, smarter, faster than the competition, the people that are already maybe servicing the contract. And then you can do that. Oh, by the way, I'm also 8A certified and eligible for sole source awards. So that is definitely a marketing. It is not your lead, like I said, but it is definitely the icing on the cake for you. There's lots of websites and information. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you've met some of the resources here today. There's a lot of online resources, and simply connect. If you walk away from today and you're like, I don't know where to start, you can always contact your district office, wherever you are. Here is my team, or wherever you might be located. And we're happy to give you information, connect you with the right resources, and make sure you get whatever information you need. So, and this is the local stuff, but again, If you're not in this service area, there's still all of these resources available to you wherever you are. Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
that's okay.
okay.
All right, okay. Thank you, Julie, for your presentation. Go ahead. Oh, yeah, I know. How's that? Okay, thank you, Julie, for your presentation and the information. So just so you know, as far as Service Disabled Veteran Known certification is self-certifying for all agencies except the VA. You have to be CVE certified in order to bid on their requirements. If you're not certified, you don't qualify to be awarded a contract. And they do have a list of companies that have been certified with the Veterans Administration. Okay, so that's CVE, Certified Veteran Enterprise. So the Veterans Administration does have a certification program. And the Veterans Administration, when they have a service disabled veteran set aside or a veteran-owned small business set aside, you have to be certified through their portal. Otherwise, you don't qualify. But any other agency, it's self-certified. Right now, I know some DoD agencies are looking at the CVE website to use that as validation instead of the self-certification. So just, so you know. The other thing that I think, Julie, you mentioned is that on the Mentor Protege program, when you go online to apply and you're an 8A certified company, SBA does not approve joint ventures anymore.
Well, sole source.
Yeah, but only for sole sourcing. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but just an opinion.
The next IG audit will let us know, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, so, but, just so you know, and there is actually on SBA's website that I just was emailed today from our district office in Arizona, a list of all the companies that have approved mentor protege agreements. So that's helpful if you're wanting to know if the company is, has gone through that process. And it does base it on NATE's code and the certification. So they'll say 8A hub zone, woman owned, or what its classification is, which is good. So that's one thing, a way for you to verify whether or not if you lose a bid to another company, you're like, wait a minute, they're partnered with a large business. You can look at the list and see if it's an improvement, if they have an approved mentor protege agreement. And that would be the reason for waive affiliation between a joint venture between a large business and a small business, is that approved mentor protege agreement. And that would be a reason why you would have it. So it's just an agreement. So it's not something you can bid with, just so you know, because we get a lot of companies that submit their mentor protege agreements in SBA's portal, and they think they can just bid with, with that agreement. It's not, it's just an agreement to waive affiliation. You do have to form a joint venture to bid. And it's, the biggest thing is know the rules when it comes to federal contracting and how to leverage those rules. That's the best advice I can give to any small business, is just understanding the rules and how to work within those rules, because it'll be golden to you as small businesses when you're competing. I know that somebody had said, you did, when you've been submitting solicitations and bid notices, you should be asking for a debrief each time. And when I sit down with our businesses and look at a solicitation, I'm like, hey, this says that you have to have at least 3 years past performance of the same size and magnitude as what you're bidding. Do you have that? And they're, no. I said, well, it's up to you. You can invest the time, but that gives you the most points. That's the highest criteria. It's not based on price, but the government must have had, bad past performance from the previous incumbents, that's what they're weighing heavily, is they want somebody who knows the project. And we had that with one of our businesses in Arizona. And I knew that they were a good contractor. I said, hey, you guys need to do this, walk the site, put in your proposal, exactly what you see hasn't been done and what your corrective action plan is to bring everything up to date, and that'll help with validating your costs, because these are things that we saw.
Are the contracting officers, do they have to give you a debriefing if the solicitation is lower than 500,000?
No, if it's under the simplified acquisition threshold, they don't, but some of them do. It's usually when it's a micro purchase, like an RFQ. I mean, pretty much, it's the lowest price. So, if you weren't the lowest price, you just didn't win. I mean, they really don't need a debrief, so you can see, they'll say, okay, the one was awarded X amount of dollars. This is what your price was, and there's not much need for that. But when it comes to a proposal, when they're evaluating your technical and your past performance, it's a good idea to ask, because it allows you to know, oh, well, this is what I didn't explain to the contracting officer, that he understood what my qualifications were. And that may be the thing that actually wins you the contract, is having that information in advance. Okay. And then, so with no further ado, we saved the best for last, which everybody came for and everybody's online for. Yeah, it's on there. Yeah, we have Elise Bullock, and she, as I say your last name right? Bullock? Okay, she is the Assistant Director with the Economic Industry Analysis, Small Business Office. And we just got our PTAX, just went over to Office of Small Business Programs yesterday. So they actually signed on the dotted line, and we're officially under the umbrella. We're no longer under Defense Logistics Agency. So just FYI. Okay.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here with you all today. So today I'm here to give you all a bunch of information on how you all can do business with the Navy. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, a lot of the stuff that Victor, Vanessa, and Julie have gone over, I'm going to cover in my brief today. So I'll go over that quickly with you all, because I don't want to have to cover the same information. So basically what I'm going to try to cover the most with you all is how you can do business with the Navy. I'm going to give you the resources that you need, the points of contact, and how you can go about identifying the commands that you need to talk to, the entry points, and how you can reach those people, what you need to do in order to do, where you have to do your research of how you identify which commands to contact and how to get that information across. So the first of the, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, that's good.
Is that good?
I think that's the first one.
No.
Yeah, that's fine.
You just push the arrow.
No, okay.
Yeah.
All right, the first thing, I'll just go ahead, go to the next one. Well, these are, this will give you the guiding documents that we go with. National Defense Strategy. It's one of our guiding documents. We have the, kind of hard to see, the defense, the operation plan. What is that? I can't even see. Our objective plans and our initiatives there. So some of the things that are highlighted and red there, you can see is basically, this is small. My eyes aren't that great. Let's see. Maybe I can, if I could do it big on this screen, maybe that'll help.
Okay. Jeremy just left too. Let me see my. No. Let's, oh,
There
okay,
we-
that better?
That's better.
Okay. Oh, shoot, sorry. Okay, go ahead and keep talking. Okay, there you go. Is that better?
Yeah, 'cause we
Okay.
have to get rid of this stuff thing.
Okay,
that's
good.
Okay, that's better. Okay, apologize for that. So one of the things, what we do in our office is basically with our operation, part of our initiatives is to encourage the structure, the technology innovation that small business bring to the Department of Navy, to improve the visibility of small business data, of what we do as far as our achievements and our performance in the small business socioeconomic categories. I have worked with the PTAX that we do for our outreach events such as today, and things that we do as far as that, and some of the things that we do here. So some of the things that we definitely that we take a look at is the defense industrial based challenges. It's one of the things that we take a look at as far as the NDIA reports that we take a look at. And that's something that's very important to us, is the health of the industrial base. And as me, as part of my job, I'm the small business industrial analyst for the Department of Navy. And my particular job is to look at the industrial base throughout the Navy to see what parts of the industrial base for different industrial bases, to see what is growing, what's not growing, and how we can improve upon it within the Navy. The other thing that I do in my job is look at the 10 major buying commands throughout the Navy to see how well they're performing in each of the socioeconomic categories. And I negotiate the targets for those commands. We'll see what they're doing in small business, women-owned small business, small disadvantaged business, hub zone. And I negotiate the targets with OSD for overall Navy to make sure that they're performing the targets and what the Navy's target is for the next fiscal year. So that's what I do. So we look at these things. I look at the supply chain. We look at all of that type things to see what we can do, what things need to be put in place when we look at policy, what things need to be changed, so we can improve those things to help increase that different areas without the Navy. And what this chart basically shows you throughout the Navy from FY16 to FY21, the growth in Navy small business program. So you see a 30% increase in our small business growth from 16 to FY21, but we have increased from $13.4 billion to $17.1 billion through those last few years. That's the part in the yellow. You can see at the top part of that, you can see that yellow part is growing. Each year we did more in small business throughout those last 5 years. So this is basically talks about the small business, what we look at for small business. We know what the small business can deliver to us. That's innovation, the agility and performance affordability for the Department of the Navy. That's what we know that small business can bring to the Department of Navy. So that's what we look for when we look to small businesses. So the Department of Navy has been dealing with small business since 1951. So that's something that the Navy has been proud of and has been in the business of doing with the things that the Navy can bring. The Navy buys all things, from soups to ships, from apples to aircraft. We buy it all. So as I mentioned before, we have 10 major buying commands. So these are 10 major buying commands. The Marine Corps Installation and Logistics Command, the Marine Corps Systems Command, Military Sea Lift Command, Naval Air Systems Command, Navy Facilities Engineering Commands, Navy Information Warfare, used to be SPAWAR, Office of Naval Research, Naval Sea Systems Command, Naval Supply Systems Command, and Strategic Systems Programs. These are the 10 major buying commands of the Navy. They're the ones that do all the buying for the Navy. So each of these commands, now, when you are looking to buy things through the Navy, doing work with the Navy, these are the commands that you need to reach out to. These are your point of entry in doing business with the Navy. So as you can see, each of these commands, they have a point of contact. They have the small business director listed and their phone numbers and their the email address or their websites. So what you want to do is reach out to that small business director, send them your capability statement. And before you do that, go to their website, read the type of things, read their mission statement, look at their vision of what that command does, the type of work that they do, and see, okay, based on that information, is this the type of service or product that I can provide to this command? Would this meet their mission? Would this provide them what they need? So it basically tells you what they do. So when you read that, see if this is something that you provide. If it is, then reach out to Carlton and say, hey, Mr. Hagens, I read over your mission statement, what you all provide, what type of service, what your mission is for the Department of the Navy. This is what I can do. Reach out to him. They're your point of entry. Let them know what you all can provide for the service you provide and the product you provide. So this is how you reach out to each of them. So that goes to each one of the commands, and it also breaks down their field activities. So each field activity also has a different sector that they do as well, like Naval Air Systems Command. They have different, the weapons division and the aircraft division. So you have different ones. So each one does differently. So I'm gonna go back for a minute. So like you say, with the Marine Corps, you have installation logistics. You have the Marine Corps Systems Command. They're the ones that buy the weapons and things of that sort. Then you have the Military Sealift Command. They operate supplies. They're the ones like the comfort ships. When you heard of COVID and the comfort ships going in and out, they do the transports and things of that sort, the logistics, humanitarian efforts and things of that stuff. That's what you have with the Military Sealift Command. With Naval Air System Command, those are our aircraft. They're the ones who do all their aircrafts, transport our sailors and Marines and the aircrafts. Their flight decks and things of that sort. You have the naval facilities, NAVFAC. They're the ones who do all our buildings, similar to the Army Corps engineers on the Navy side. They're the ones who do all our environmental type stuff, all our building, maintenance and facilities type things. Then you have our Naval Sea Systems Command. They're the ones who build our ships, our submarines, and things of that sort. Then you have our Naval Supply System. They're the ones who do all of the supply services, cooks, educational, counseling, professional type services. So they do a range of things to that stuff. The information warfare systems, they're the ones who do a lot of the IT stuff. Also, INL do a lot of the IT stuff too. So they do a lot of that stuff. Then you have the Office of Naval Research. They do a lot of the SBR type stuff, scientific things of that stuff. So go through each one of the commands, read their mission statement, look what their vision is and see where you fit in, what type of things, products and services that you can provide. So it's important that you realize which command that you best fit under the types of services that you all provide there. Then you have Strategic Systems Command. One of the things that they're doing with a lot of the nuclear type stuff. So those are the type of things that you want to do. So like here, these are like the key takeaways. I would like to go, if I have time, go to our website, because these is the key takeaways. So on our website, we have search what the Navy buys. And it's in the upper right-hand corner, I'll go through it. You can go in there, you can type in your NATES code. When you type in your NATES code, you can see all the commands that buys that NATES and what they bought in the FY21 and how much they spent in that particular NATES code. And then you say, oh, okay. So you can take that information and say, oh, okay, I see that NAVFAC spent a lot of money in this NATES code. Let me go back. Oh, Bianca, let me reach out to Bianca, who's the small business director for NAVFAC. Okay, let me reach out to her, send her my capability statement so she knows that, I'm out here, I do this type of work as well. Reach out to her, so that's support, so you can start networking. So that's the main thing. Let them know who you are. You can start your networking process. That's what you want to do. So that's one of your key points. So that's what we have on our website, is the search what your Navy buys. So that's a key point of the things. One of the nice things, we have a lot of nice resources on our website. So it gives you a lot of information, type of things that you can do. Also on our website, you can also search as far as where are your small business professionals throughout the Navy. So we have a map on our website. So you can say, oh, okay, in this area, NAVSUP, oh, okay, we have someone in Virginia or out here in California. Oh, you see NAVSUP. Oh, okay, I can go to NAVSUP, see who my point of contact in NAVSUP is. If you saw that your NATES code came up, search with the Navy buy that's out here in California, you can go to that person and they'll pull up the person, the small business director that's out there in California under the NAVSUP. You can pull up their contact information, reach out to them, send them an email address, forward them your capability statement. So we have our resource, we have a lot of information on our website. So that's our web email address at the top of that as well. Like I said, I would like to go there so you can actually see this live. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, Vanessa said to make them available later today. So yeah, this is our website where you can find all our small business professionals on the website and stuff like that. So this is the map where you see where all of the, where the commands are located, and it'll tell you where the small business professionals are located as well. Okay, and then one of the other things, being procurement ready. And this is another nice thing we just recently did. We invested a lot of money in videos this year, so which is a good thing. And one of the things with that procurement video, it walks you through steps 1 to the end and how you go about being procurement ready. Make sure you register through the SAM all the way through and make sure you do your network and your market research. It does all of that for you. It tells you all the steps to follow, give you other resources and things that you go talked about, what SBA does and the PTAC does. It does all of that for you. And it's a good thing when you can stop and, research and start it wherever you want, and you hit play, and, it just goes through it all. So it's really neat. Again, as Julie had mentioned, and you talk about SAM.gov, knowing your niche and stuff like that, your points of entry and stuff like that. You go through it on that SAM.gov. Also talk about NECO, the name Electronic Commerce Online.
So the website that you have for the NECO, are those opportunities the same as what's on SAM, or are they different?
They're a little different.
A little bit different?
Yes,
Oh, okay. So businesses should go to both sides.
Yes, I would go to both sites. Yes. Mhm.
I've also seen some solicitations in Hawaii, like in Wawa. Is it still there for the Navy?
I'm not
Oh,
familiar
that's
with that.
the way workflow.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay. I'm not sure about the what's
I've seen in Searchfield that they have like solicitations for the Navy.
Interesting. I think
Someone sent
You
me
s-
there once. And I
Oh,
saw
okay.
that, but,
I know you on there to do the invoices and things. So that's so I didn't know they have opportunities on wall.
Yeah.
That's new for me.
Yeah, that is new. I didn't know. Yeah, you're right. It only show, I thought it only showed what contracts companies been awarded.
Awarded, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Of course, Julie has gone over this and things that they do as far as SBA and their resources and things that they offer. So I won't go over that again. Again, this is things that SBA they do. Of course, the PTACs and things that they do. So I won't go over that again. Of course, this is SAM, a type of things you go into register. Make sure you, the first thing you do is starting when you doing business with the federal government, the first step you have to take in order to do business with the federal government. Okay. Okay, so this is just an overview what the Navy has done in FY19, 20, and 21. So you can see basically our growth with some of the things that we've done. You can see in small business, we had done $16.6 billion in FY19. And then we went from 16.6 billion in 19 to 17.4 billion in FY20. And then we went to 17.3 billion in FY21. So it just shows you the growth. We also talk about the entrance. So this is like my type of analysis that I do at my job when we look at the entrance of small businesses that entered. So we can see we had 2,100 small business entered Department of Navy's industrial base, but we also had 1,000 that exited Department of Navy's industrial bases between 19 and 20. So, but between 20 to 21, we had 1924 small business entered the industrial base and small in the Navy, and then we had 741 that exit the industrial base in the Navy. So this is the type of analysis that I do when the Navy is when we look at the industrial bases, small business, and know who's leaving, who's coming in this Department of the Navy, and see how we can build that, keep it going throughout the Navy. So this looks at our current how well we are doing in our small business operations performance as far as FY22 as of 9 August. We are very close to obtaining our small business objective this year at 17.1% is our target that we have negotiated with OSD this year. We still have a long way with our SDB goal. We went a little aggressive this year at 8.3. We're currently at 6.1. So far, we have achieved our SDB. As you notice, ours is not at the statutory level when we negotiate with OSD. So you're not seeing the statutory goals. When the services negotiate with OSD, things are a little different than what a DOD negotiate with SBA. So you won't be thrown off by that. Just to let you know. One of the things that we are proud of, we have so far hit our hub zone right now, which is kind of great because hub zone federally hasn't been doing so well since they have changed it. So what we did for FY21, you can see Navy met all of its targets in FY21. You can see it, as I said, as SDB goal, we had 5.71. This year we jumped it up to 8.3. So we had achieved that. And last year we had 18.1% of our small business goes there. So one of the things, this would also talk about, this shows a map of what we do as far as overall small business. This is our total awards that we've done in FY21. We did $9.5 billion in total awards in FY21. This map shows you where our largest spends were. It was in Texas. We did like over $10 billion. And then you had Virginia. And Virginia was the next one closest to that. And then here in California and Pennsylvania. As far as small business awards, California and Virginia is like a top 2 in small business award areas, where we did $17.2 billion. So you can see as far as regionally, where most of our small business dollars are being spent throughout the Navy. So California, Virginia are 2 largest, and somewhat Maryland there. As far as, then we go into each of the socioeconomic categories. Again, you have California, Florida, and some of the other states. You can see how well we do in the other socioeconomic categories. Where we did $6.55 billion. And then you look at service disabled. So a lot of times we're doing a lot of money here in California, where we hit a lot of our socioeconomic categories. We do quite well in California as far as spending money, as far as our socioeconomic categories. And quite well. And this again will just give you our trend, our 3-year trend for FY18 to 21, how we have trended over the years in each of the socioeconomic categories here, from service disabled, women owned, service disabled, and hub zone. As you can see, our hub zone is starting to track back up where we had fell, and we went kind of low. Now we're trying to track back up there. But that was federal-wide where everybody had dropped quite a bit. And hub zone, yes, sir.
I have a question. So the small disadvantage goal that you have posted, is that based on what they put in their reps and certs in SAM, or how do you determine that? Or is it those that are 8A certs?
Oh, what those goals are based on what we negotiated for our targets for the year. So what we track based on what our achievements are is what we actually awarded for that particular fiscal year. So what's been actually awarded for that particular year. So as you can see, like in is what we actually awarded. Like if you look at what we did in 21 is our actual, what we actually awarded in 21 there. We did 655 billion, which was 6.85 was our percentage there. And our target was 5.71.
Oh, okay.
So that the orange is what our target was, and the percentage was the yellow is what we actually achieved, but then the dollar amount is there at the top. You're welcome. And this is some other matrix that we look at from year to year, like our top 5 contractors, Lockheed are the top 5, the large ones, and then our overall spend in which areas. I'm gonna go to the next one because this one will give you a better idea. As you can see, what Navy mostly spend their money on, you have aircraft, ships, submarine, which is a lot where most of our money goes to, of that $95.4 billion that we did in FY21. Excuse me. And then next we had our facilities and construction. at 10.25 billion. And next you have for professional services. And then the other categories, you can see what we spend the rest of our money in as far as overall Navy. So that gives you an idea where we spend most of our money. As far as small business, you can see where most of our money is spent in small business. Out of $17.273 billion of small business, where most of it went into. Most of it went to facilities and construction. Professional services, another big pie. So those are the two biggest pies that we spend most of our money in small businesses. So that's where a lot of our money is going to in small business when you look at that. Yes, ma'am. That's okay.
My last question. On the transportation logistics services,
Mhm.
what is that? Is that renting or leasing trucks?
It could be a variety of those things, yes. Yes, it all depends, I'll have to break it down to see what particular services that could be. It could be leasing the trucks, it could be any type of road work or types of things that all falls into that type of area for that. Mhm. You're welcome.
Question I have is,
Hmm?
information is that for hardware or services?
Mostly that could be for hardware, because a lot of the services that we do, because the Navy itself, when they look at internally for our service, we have NMCI for our but it could be for the other services that are on ships, aircrafts and things, or that type things, but not internal to the actual Navy. It could be more on the things that are built into those ships, things that you'll see at NAVWAR, those type things, or communication type things of that sort. This is just another picture of the same thing on the previous slide that you see there. It's just broken down with some little icons, things of that sort. Okay. This is give you a little bit more information specific to California, where you can see as far as awards that we made to companies that were here headquartered in California, where we did $7.6 billion to companies that were headquartered in California. 2.65 billion of that was small business. And of that, you have that was here headquartered in San Jose. You had 872 million of that was awarded to companies that were headquartered here in San Jose, California. And 361 million of that went to small businesses. That was awarded through the Department of Navy. This will give you an idea of the top 10 NATEs of small businesses that was awarded to small business. So you can see engineering services is one of the top 10 NATEs, commercial in the institutional building construction, deep sea freight transportation, the computer related services, industrial building construction, research and development, guided missiles and space vehicle manufacturing, remediation services, other electronics, shipbuilding repair. All of that is our top 10 NATEs small business performance. Then here you have the top 10 NATEs of here headquartered in San Jose. Those are the top 10 there. I'm gonna read them all over again. And then this will give you the overall small business. These are the PSC codes, the product service codes that you can find of the top 10 small business. And then again, the top 10 headquartered here in San Jose. And these are the top vendors headquartered in San Jose. And as you can see, they moved to this SAM ID and they no longer have the DUNS numbers that's located on there. Okay, the resources and agenda. So one of the things that our procurement video has, takes you through all the steps. So step one, identifying your business is one of the first things you want to do. Then it goes to step two, how you register your business. Then you want to do your market research. Then how you market yourself. That's the next thing. That's one of the most important things you have to do. Once you identify who you are, the things that you do, you have to market yourself. You have to get yourself out there. You have to network. You have to market your business so people know who you are, what you do, what you provide. You have to market yourself. It's very important. And then you have to, steps on how you go about bidding on a contract, when you win a contract, when you don't win a contract. And the next most important thing, if you win a contract, you have to perform. You have to perform on the contract, and then you grow with the Navy. So this is a video is on our website, and this video takes you through all the steps in doing that. And this one is if you take the QR code, so if you have your phones, you can actually scan it on your phones, and you can have it on your phones. And if you wanted to watch it, you can do that. It'll play for you. Got it. I don't know. I don't think it'll play on here. I was telling them the QR. No, I was telling them with the phones, they can QR. I can get to it on a website, but stuff. Excuse me. One of the things that you've all probably heard about the Executive Order 13985. So this one is advancing racial equality and support of the underdeserved communities through the federal government. So what this does is taking the SBD goal from 15% by FY 2025. So the one thing that the Navy is doing, like I had mentioned before, when you had saw this Navy's goal going from 5.71 to 8.3% as our target, it's one of the things the Navy is doing as its part to starting to looking at ways how we can start doing our part in achieving that goal for the federal government. We're not doing it as a Navy, taking 15%. We're trying to do our part so the Department of Defense can achieve that and reaching 15% by FY 2025. So the things that we're trying to do, we're not doing that by taking things from other socioeconomic programs. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to look at ways that we can look at within the Navy, how we can go about looking at initiatives and things that we can put in place to achieve that on our side from the Navy standpoint to helping DOD achieve it by FY 25. So we're doing different things for ourselves and trying to remove barriers and to have equal access to procurement opportunities for the small disadvantaged businesses, and doing that things that we include in the performance of the SES performance initiatives, increasing market, the entrance of small business in those areas, category management practice to boost opportunities, which we're not sure of. So that's something I wanted to talk to you about, because I'm like, the thing is that really a help or a hindrance? So that's something, a lot of people think it is. I'm not sure. It's almost like the bundle type thing.
I'm in the category, it's not.
Yeah, and
That's
I'm
my-
leaning toward that with you, because I was like, I don't see how it's a help. So that's one of the things that the Navy is looking at. So we're looking at ways how we can remove barriers, and so we can help move that along so we can achieve that goal to the president's initiatives there. So one of the things, other things the Navy has posted, one of the things that you'll find on each of the websites that you'll find is on each of the command's website, there is a long-range acquisition. The Secretary of the Navy has asked each of the commands to post their long-range acquisition forecast on their websites. So each one, if you go to their website, you will see on their page their long-range acquisition forecast, which is a help to you all. So you know any upcoming forecasts that may be coming up that you all may, if it's something that's in your wheelhouse that you can take a bid on. So that's something that you want to look at. So they'll walk you through that, how you can go about finding that information on their website. So that's a big resource for you all to finding that information. They're trying to standardize it, because right now each commands look a little different. So they're trying to find ways to standardize it throughout the Navy so they all look the same, but they're a little different, but they each have something on there that you can find. SBR, STTI program, it talks a little bit about that, about the incubation period, the acquisition and the bridge, how you can go about finding information about the SBR program. Right now, I know that there's still things about whether it's going to be reestablished or in Congress or whatever, because right now it's up in the air if it's gonna look the same, if it's gonna stay or if it's gonna go. So right now, they're not sure about what's gonna happen with the SBR program. So that's something that's still up in the air, but right now it's there. There's the guidebook there and things you can find about the SBR program and how it all works and things of that sort. The Mentor Protege program, the Navy does its Mentor Protege program a little different than, well, most of them when you're doing it through the DOD. DOD, Navy's is through the DOD, but DOD, different agency does it different. Navy focuses more on an actual program. They don't look at quantity versus quality. So Navy like to set their Mentor Protege programs up based on requirements that exist. So if there's a program there, they have a requirement and there's a need and there's a mentor there and it can bring in a protege, that's how they somewhat do their program, Mentor Protege program. But I can definitely put you in contact with the Mentor Protege program manager. Her name is Miss Mercedes Thurston, and she's very good at what she does. And she can give you a little bit more insight about how it works with the Navy and how, you best get on that. But as Julie has mentioned, it's basically there to help foster you as far as establishing like any type of accounting systems, any type of thing to help you build your business is how it works on that. Anything that you need in that enhancing business development, technology capabilities, subcontracting and things of that, commercial contracts, things of that sort, your infrastructure and capabilities and things of the competitor marketed utilization, non-traditional commercial businesses there is what it has, yes.
We have a couple of questions from online. Does the Dawn Small Business Analyst include SBIR contracts?
What do you mean the analysts?
Well, I guess when you look up histories of awarded contracts, do you provide a list of those that have SBIR?
We do track our SBIR matrix. They're
SBIR.gov will have all the data on prior SBIR awards
Even for Department of Defense?
for the whole
Oh,
federal government.
Okay, so SBIR.gov would be the website.
Mhm.
Okay, second question. Can you speak about the opportunity small business can work with large businesses and how they can market themselves to meet their small business goals?
how they can work with large businesses?
Yes.
Well, mainly that's like through their subcontracting. What we do as far as subcontracting, we do monitor how well large businesses perform their subcontracting commitments. As far as them working with them, other than that, that's about the best I can tell them as far as, working with them, that we do monitor their small business performance and whether they're meeting their targets. What we do is the ISRs. So we check and look at that. We monitor that closely. One of the things the Navy has started doing this year, my director has started meeting with the large businesses where we meet with them. We call in different ones. So far we met with 10 of them. When we take a look at their subcontracting, where they're meeting, things that they're doing to see how well they're performing in their ISR acceptance and things of that sort, and their performance and meeting 80% is what our target is. And to see how well they are doing to that extent. And that's about, we're putting them on task and let them know that we're watching. Whether they're performing to that, and then hopefully that would increase them, just let them know we're watching them like Big Brother, more or less. it's about the best I can tell you as far as we do. But my director, Mr. Smith, has started meeting with them on a regular basis, letting them know, asking them different questions, about their small business performance and engagement, and also the mentor protege programs and things of that sort. So that's some of the things that we're just started doing. So he's just starting to engage with them in the last 9 months.
Okay.
And I'm meeting with them, and as far as that, and we do monitor the subcontracting goals.
Okay. Now, we've noticed that there is now a increase in large businesses hosting outreach events. Is this a requirement for DoD contractors now? Large businesses, meaning,
Not that I know
not that you
of.
know? Okay, that was the question. And then the last question is, they're an instrument and parts distributor. How can they find out what Navy purchased historically by NSNs?
Well, Navy's, I would contact, because now the parts used to be with Navy Supply Systems Command. Most of that has been taken over with DLA. It used to be Naval Supply Weapons System, there used to be Naval Supplies, NAVSTEP WSS. Most of that has gone over to DLA. I would suggest maybe contacting Naval Supplies. Contact Chris Espenshade. I would contact him first. He's the Small Business Director for Naval Supply System Command. If he can't provide you an answer, he can probably point you to the point of contact at DLA as far as the NSNs and who to contact there. I would start there. If he can't put in if no one there can give him an answer, he probably can put in contact with somebody at DLA.
And what's the name? His name is Chris.
Chris Espenshade. He's the Small Business Director at NAVSTEP. Okay. The other thing the Navy started doing is looking at the Naval X. It serves as the Department of Navy Workforce as the super connector. And what they're trying to do is we're looking at things, innovation things, educational type areas, and how they look at non-traditional type areas as far as new areas of opportunities, almost innovation and things of that sort. So for agility type method, it's not quite SBR type stuff, but it's one of the things that they're trying to do there to new Enable X things that they're trying to do. So they have a website there so that you can go to that and learn a little bit more about that in the different areas. So they have several different locations that you can find out about that and how they're trying to find information across the DoD and about the Naval X arena. This is a new thing that they're working on is CRADA. It's another thing with R&D collaboration between the Navy. They have one or more non-federal partners that they're trying to do, and academia type partners and stuff. They're working with a lot of different colleges and stuff throughout the Navy, throughout the area. One of the things they're trying to do there, looking at intellectual properties and stuff like that. They're trying to do all of that type of stuff. It's a non-procurement grant, contract or grant type of situation there. So there's a website there. You can go find out more information on that. Like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know and I can, point you in the right direction on that information to get you to who you need to talk to about that as well. Now DAU is offering courses to some of the businesses where you can go in. It's based on availability of some of the classes that they have. They have something about some continuing learning about service disabled veteran-owned small business. You can see fundamentals of the FAR and small business professionals, past performance information, partnering. So they have different types of courses that you can go into. So there has a website there you can go to and try to see if there's some classes there you want to take to do with DAU. And see if they have some availability if you're interested in taking classes online. Some of them may be in person. I'm not sure if all of them are online now. Some of them might be in person. This is the new Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency. This is an overview of some of the things that they do. So if you're looking, have questions about facility clearances, what do you need to obtain one? Questions, frequent asked questions. So here's their website that you can go into. They also have a phone number excuse me, and things of that sort. So you can go in there and find some information. So that might be very helpful for those of you that's looking to get our facilities, security, clearance and stuff. So you have that information to your disposal. It looked like they may have a training video on that as well. This one is the DoD toolbox, procurement toolbox. So it's another resource that you can use to your disposal. To look and see what information they may provide. Look like they have upcoming events on this one. Any type of training that you might need on here. Some government furniture property type stuff. So you can check that out. Just some other resources that you might want to take a look at on here. The cyber security and these regulations, some of the stuff that they have going on and things you might want to look at. So just another resource that you can use at your disposal. Okay, this is the website. You can scan this one to join our mailing list. We do our weekly mailing lists, some new information, things that come out where you can, stay current. We have webinars that we do probably on a monthly basis, sometime bi-monthly, about different things. You can learn about our industry days. We have some in-person events that we have, some things that we have going on so you can keep you up to date with what's going on and stuff like that. So you can use that, scan that QR code and subscribe to our mailing list there. So that this will come up with some upcoming webinars. We also have a YouTube channel of past webinars that we have that you can go on and try to find pre-recorded webinars that we've done in the past that you can go on there and take a look at and give you some other topics that we talked about, things from other different agencies that we have. We have things from DHS, OSDBU. We have things from the Air Force Office of Small Business Programs. We have things from DLA. We have things from Office of Naval Research to talk about the SBR program. We also have stuff from the Naval X and the Tech Bridges on our webinar series. So all these topics you can find on our YouTube channel, the other past webinars that we've done. So that's another resource that you can use as well. There's also one on the Mentor Protege program too. So a lot of information there. And this is another way, just another one to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and all that. So upcoming events, we have our Navy Gold Coast 2022. That's September 6th to 28th here in San Diego. That's coming up. We also have our next coming Navy Weeks we have coming up is the next one I think is in Reno, 26th September to October is coming up. And then you can save the date. If you want to come out to the East Coast, we have our Sierra in Space. It's April 3rd to the 5th. It's sponsored through the Navy League. It's hosted every year. It's a great event that we have. It's a great event that we have there every year. It's been going on for several different years as well, similar to our Gold Coast that we have every year. Then we also have a year in review video that we do every year about what the Navy does and what we've done over the years and things of that sort that we offer every year. This is our office information. We can send emails into our office, our phone number, and our website. There. I don't know how much time I left. I can do questions. If I can, let me see if I can get to our website and I can see.
If you click that link there. Yeah, and then, yeah.
Okay. I just want to show you sort of the search with the Navy buys so you can sort of see that information because I think that would be helpful to you all. So you go up here in this corner here.
You gotta make sure it's.
Oh, okay. So I'll just, okay. So I went up here to search what the Navy buys. So you can go up here and see what was awarded by the Navy by hitting the NAETS that was awarded here. Okay. And it'll open, you can export this spreadsheet as well. And so you can go in here. So for instance, so say if I go in here. Make it small so I can see it. Go here. So you can do it by place of performance. But I'm gonna keep it. Let's see if we're gonna do. Oh, it made it real small.
While you're going to that. Oh,
I get back over here.
You share that, you know, you share.
I'm trying to get rid of this thing. A new shares over today.
Oh, yeah.
Hit that one.
Just do the,
This
yeah.
one. Okay.
Increase it so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to get the cursor to go back over. This little window is blocking it. Okay. I'm trying to get back over here.
Oh, okay, Jim. Okay, here's a quick question. The SBIR, they received an SBIR through the Department of Navy. But when they reached out to the contracting person, they weren't able to help them. Who should they contact within the Department of Navy for their SBIR?
They should contact Bob Smith.
Bob Smith? Okay.
Bob Smith, he's the small business director. I'm the SBR's director for
Okay.
Department of Navy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what you can do, so it's going big on me. So if you want to go into specific NAETS, is there any particular NAETS? Give me a NAETS that somebody works at. Okay. So I can unselect all and search. You said 333. 16. Okay. So that shows you who. You can see NAVSUP and NAVAIR twice, which ones they've done that NAETS. That. And it tells you the place of performance. Riverdale, California, you have Virginia, New Hampshire. That was the NAETS. Photography, photocopying, Naval Warfare Center, NAVSUP, Warfare Center. So it tells you where. So that gives you an idea of where you can go. Sure. So let's go here. You can filter it all out. Okay. 41922. So it tells you another one. So NAVSUP. So that's how you can go about see who bought what you're selling. So that's how you can use it. Say,
Who your competitors are and who,
yeah, well, this one just said, yeah, this will tell you what Navy Command is buying what you're selling or what you're providing. Yes, sir.
Is there any way to find out what they paid for it?
Well, it tells you the amount that was put on contract. It tells you the dollar amount. So it tells you how much it went to small business. It was 315 for that one. Now, it doesn't tell you the actual contract. It tells you as a whole how much was spent for that particular one that NAVC done under that NAETS code. It doesn't break it out by the actual contract on this particular one.
Is that confidential information or is that?
Well, if you can, what you could go through is different, you can see what was awarded, if it was already awarded. If you have a contract number and stuff like that, I think that can go through,
Yeah, but if you've got some really specific information, you can, through USA Spending, you'll be able to drill down to
Mhm.
find out who the firms were that received the awards
Awards, yeah.
using some of that data. And then the FPDS, Federal Procurement Data System, is now rolled into SAM.gov, and that's specific contract award data as well. I think USA Spending is a lot easier to use. So I
Yeah.
usually tell people start there and see what you can get, because if you, a tip with USA Spending is that if you run a query, a search, what you see on the screen is just a snippet. Download the Excel spreadsheet and you will get a lot more information. That's where you get all the fields. It'll just go on. If you had like 3 screens, it'd probably be all 3
Yeah.
screens.
USA spending.gov.
.gov.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just what the Navy has awarded in FY '21. That's all that one is. It doesn't give you overall stuff like that. That's just what the Navy has done by that specific NATES at that particular time and stuff. So we just, put it out there for them. But there's some other databases that you can use to search for different things of that sort.
Yeah, you can overlay that data.
yeah, and just- I just
with
wanna show one
USA
other
Spending
thing.
to get more specific,
Yeah.
or more details, I should say.
Is this one? Yeah, okay. And then Mhm. Okay. So the other thing I was gonna see, let's see. So as I was saying, like with the different commands, what you can go through, and like I said, when you go to our commands, you can see. Oops. It tells you what their, it leads you to their website, but you tell you who the small business director is and things like that, give you their top 10 names and things that they buy. All right. So you can actually see all of that information and talk about the strategic and things about the Marine Corps and stuff like that. So you can have all of that information and give you their phone number and all of that stuff, or you can contact him directly. So that has all that information on there as well. Let's see where else I'm gonna take you all. The long range acquisition forecast that you can go to. So say if I go to, one of the better ones was NAVWAR had a good long range acquisition forecast. It's rated one of the best that was out there because it had a lot of great information. Let's see if I can pull this up here. And stuff you can download. So this one will tell you let me get over here. God bless you. So it tells you the requirement, the title, the description, the NATES code that it was under, the type of anticipated, the PSC code, the follow-on requirement. So you can go look and see what who the incumbent contractor was and all of that for small business set aside. So it gives you a lot of information, how you can go off and tell you to go about to set yourself up and prepare yourself for the follow-on contract. So this is another great resource that you can use about their about upcoming procurements that you can use, whether it was full on open competition, if it was who the incumbent contractor was, and you can go about looking up this information that Julie was mentioned on FPDS&G and different resources, pull up the contract information. This is under the long range acquisition under the website. I went under NAVWAR and I put up their long range acquisition forecast. So you can go under there. So this gives you an idea of what's under their website there. So that just give you an idea of that. The last thing I wanted to show you was, This is where you can find a video about doing the different steps. I won't go, 'cause I think that's a little, I think the video is like 5 minutes, but that's where you can find the video about being procurement ready. Here. Let's see, this gives you a lot of different information. Let's see. Mhm.
So, I mean, outside of, you know, like you mentioned, like this with other type of early engagement, yes, we that's make that.
Well, we do events like this. It's like our outreach events, like when we have Gold Coast, we have matchmaking events that we participate in. It's like if you go on this website, it tells you where we're gonna be, like upcoming events. We normally publish most of those, where we're gonna be. So just like a lot of the PTAC stuff that we participate in, other outreach events, just go to our website and try to see where we're gonna be, stuff like that. And some of the matchmaking events. And like I said, go to here, because some of our local ones also have outreach events. So this is the map I was telling you all about, where you can find your local, because some of the local offices also do outreach events, and they have industry days and stuff, where you can go ahead and find your, this is open.
And then continue.
Yeah, I just clicked on that. There we go. So if you want to go to like the California here, let's go down. And it lists. So these are all in California. So you can see by state. If you click out one, say if you wanted to see somebody, and let's see, where's a good place? Give me a good place. Ridgecrest. Where is it? Is it somewhere there? Okay, I just hit 29. I hit the first one. Okay, so you open that up. Oops. But that gives you the name, and it gives you the email address. Okay. Okay, so to pull, I don't know why it's not print the contact. I'm not sure why that's going on. Okay, it looked like it's just on, I know they were revamping it, so maybe they're doing it, because I know they were saying something about some of the information. Let's see. Well, this is like if you had, let's see, now see if I had something here. Okay. So that gives you names in different areas. So if you're trying to hit somebody in Port Hueneme, I think it was because of the PII. I think it had to remove it, because I do remember our PAO said they had to remove their contact information because of PII. So at least gives you the email address they set up where you can actually, you're looking for somebody from NAVC, hitting the small business director, you can get their email address, and then send an email address directly to them. And you can send your capability statement along with that email, and they will contact you. And like I said, you have the small business director for each of the commands. You can also follow with them and say, hey, I just sent an email to your small business professional out in Port Hueneme. Can you, follow up with them and see if they got the information? Okay. So any more questions for me? Or is there anything else you want me to show me on the website or anything? Okay. Yes, sir.
So this is kind of a basic question, but as I'm learning about the program, I'm curious about from the perspective of contract officers, some of the command centers, how familiar are they with the program for them to use as a contract avenue?
Oh, they're pretty familiar with the 8A program. A lot of the times when they mainly when they have a procurement that comes up, when they have to work in conjunction with they have a requirement that they have to fill out for anything that's over 10K, they have to work with their small business counterpart. and they have to fill out what they call a 2579, which is a small business coordination review record. And they have to reach out to them. So whether the contracting officer knows, their small business professional knows that, okay, you had this requirement, what research have you done on your market research to see if there was in what we have, the rule of two? If there's small businesses out there, if you at least have two small businesses out there that can do the work, you have to set it aside for small business. It's normally a requirement. So whether they know about it, their small business professional know about it, and they can do their market research. If they don't do the market, the small business professional will do the market research, say, well, okay, we had this requirement based on this NAICS code. They would do the market research and say, okay, well, I know that there's two small businesses out there can do the work to set it aside, and they can pull the work down and they can say, okay, if there's out there to do the work and they identify some 8A firms out there that can do the work, then, they can say, okay, you have an 8A firm right here, then they have to go to SBA to get the letter and things of that sort to get them approved and stuff of that sort. So they can, they can do an 8A direct award to an 8A small business to do the work, to go in the 8A program. So that's how it normally works, especially if it's a new requirement. Now, if it's a previous requirement, and if it was awarded to an 8A previously, like Julia said, it has to stay in the 8A program. So more than likely, they already know that the work is already at 8A, that it's going to stay in the 8A program. They'd be looking for another 8A program to award the work to again. So that's how it really works. Anything else you want to add about that, Julia?
I will say, when I was in DC and then I started doing it out here in San Francisco, we actually will train contracting officers to make sure that they're up to date on these programs, how they work, the set aside from, more of their lens than the small business lens. So we do try to keep them educated and up to date as well. I don't know that all of my counterparts across the country do that, but that's something we started when I was in DC, because obviously I have a big pool there. But then even out here and a lot of the agencies have taken us up on it, because I can also give them their CLP credits, which is kind of their continuing learning credits for that too. So a little carrot there to keep them up to date.
Yeah, and that's one thing we do too. But the Navy Small Business Program advocates for our small business directors to educate their workforce on small business, to do small business training. And the other thing the Navy does, that now that they have the small business, the deputies of different programs to be small business advocates. And in doing so, they have to educate them, which in turn advocates the programs about the small business program itself and the things that they have to do in order to be an advocate for small business. So when they have requirements coming out there, whether it's big or small, even if it's big, if there's actually avenues or components of a bigger program that they can pull to create opportunities for small businesses, to make create those small business opportunities as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, there's things, the SBA, so what are some different ways other than like keywords in my statement?
DSBS profile?
Yeah, so how can I just want to make sure that when some of the contract specialists are looking for, my services, that I search for SBA. And also, I went to a virtual meeting, and someone from the SBA was presenting. They just talked about all these different grants and dollars that they have for small businesses, and I'm wondering, what is all this money for? Nonprofit or something like that, or federal contractor, or
So the DSBS, I'll tackle that one first. It's easier. And that is your profile. It is separate and apart from SAM.gov, but it is linked behind the scenes. And it's heavily a marketing tool for a lot of contracting officers or agencies, whoever's making the purchasing decision, to help find, are there small businesses out there and across the different socioeconomic categories. So you have the ability to fill out a profile on there, and two things I would recommend: make sure you have all of the NAICS codes that you're capable of performing under listed. You'll have your primary, obviously, but then if you're capable of performing under, 7 others, make sure those are all in there. And then the second thing is there is one space that is customizable where it's basically a text block and you can put in keywords and stuff. And I definitely encourage you to put in as much in there as you can that is specific to what you can do. So if there's a special certification that you have, a special license that you have, if there's just some buzzwords, because NAICS codes can be broad, right? That's usually a big bucket. So if there's really specific things underneath there that I encourage you to, take some time and think about it, but that's really the only space you have in that profile to kind of get those words out there and try to think like a contracting officer for a minute and say like, okay, they need HVAC services, but is there something specific within that HVAC that is unique that you might want to include in that too? So, and I guess other helpful hints.
Yeah, and if they, I mean, I don't know if they have anything for, I can't remember if they are for any PSC codes, but that would give you a little bit more granular.
No.
Yeah, that won't show up in the
Yeah,
DSBS,
so,
it'll just
yeah.
be in the SAM.
Yeah, so yeah, it's something much more you can put under the
But,
search.
yeah, and then you'd asked about grants and stuff, so prior to COVID, I would say no. There's no grants for business owners to help them, start, build, or grow their business. During the COVID era, we did have grant programs, but they were very specific and for COVID financing. So there was, as far as the grants go, there was a restaurant revitalization fund. There was SVOG, small shuttered menu operators grant that were for very specific industries. And then the EIDL was actually a loan, not a very low interest loan, and then PPP was technically a loan, but it was forgivable if people used it the right way. So it had the effect of being a grant. You will find, if you go to grants.gov and search SBA, you will see some pop up still. But if you read those, they're really for our service providers that are in turn working with the small business community, such as our small business development centers, our women business centers, the veteran business outreach centers, et cetera. So they typically are nonprofits or a university-based organization, educational institution, because they're getting the grant to in turn provide resources to small businesses. So that's typically, you will find, SBIR is a grant. It won't necessarily show up on grants.gov. SBIR.gov is the resource. SBA is kind of, the money isn't necessarily from SBA, it's from the 11 biggest agencies, their R&D dollars, but we kind of corral and put everything into one spot to help you find and access those opportunities. So that has phase 1, 2, and 3 funding attached to it. And we'll just put a shout out here because I do have some 8A firms that actually have been successful in getting SBIR awards from DOD. And if you are a technology company, and then the broadest sense of that word, through our SBDC program here in Northern California, we have a specialty center called Tech Futures. And what they do is they only work with technology companies, and SBIR grants and then like venture capital and angel investing is the 2 major things that they offer. And last I heard with SBIR, phase 1, they had 100% success rate getting businesses funded. So this is a free resource to you, and it is absolutely worth it if you are a technology company to connect with them, and we can make sure we help you connect. But that's they're one of their sweet spots. They do have some experts there that can help. They'll help with all 3 phases. Phase 1, they're particularly been very successful.
SBIR, you said?
Mhm. Small Business Innovation Research.
Can I just add something to that? When people hear that the government's got free money to start a business, that's what it is, this SBIR program. But the government tells you, this is what we want research. So if you go to SBIR.gov, you can see the various agencies that participate in the program, and then the topics, basically the areas of research where they're looking for someone to submit a proposal. So if you are a technology company, so what, you're one of hundreds of thousands of countries, but if you don't have the skill set in-house or no other people that can respond to that specific topic, then, you know. you just
Yeah.
won't get it. The other thing that they don't really mention is that, is I've seen working with companies who are submitting, or want to submit a proposal, is they ask, you have to have what's called a, I have it wrong, professional investigator on your team. And typically, that's someone who is a PhD with knowledge on that technology that they want researched. And if they don't have it, then they'll never get the grant. Technically, they don't have to be a PhD, but the people who review the proposals that come in are all PhDs, and their culture is, well, you can't be as smart as us, and we're PhDs, so.
Well, yeah. And STTR is separate. That's the technology transfer, which I think is usually with the university attached to it. And you'll definitely have a lot more PhDs in that
Yeah.
program sector. For SBIR, the unique spin with that is it's not just money to seed funding to research what needs the government has. There also needs to be potential for commercialization of that.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where the hook is with that particular program. And so it's like phase one is kind of proof of concept, if you will. Phase two is usually prototyping, and phase three is usually commercialization. If you go through all three phases, and the best example I can always give people of this is usually people have heard of a company called iRobot. And so they, I believe it was Army that needed a battlefield robot that could sweep for landmines, detect landmines. And then the commercialization side of that was the Roomba, your vacuum cleaner. So that's kind of like the ideal example of how that program can work. So it's, again, not for everybody by any means, but if you do have a research and development component to what you're doing, and you are something truly innovative and new, especially if you're in certain industries like climate, climate change and other things, that might be worth exploring.
You know, and then the other thing that you can do is, you were shown, you know, the contracting officers that are buying what you're selling based on the NAICS code, contact those contracting officers to let them know that you're out there. You know, one of the things is that, you know, you get certifications, but you don't go into a buyer and say, well, I'm an 8A, WOSB, EDWSB, HubZone certified company. Basically, what you're going to do is identify what it is their needs are, how you can solve those needs, or how you can provide a solution to their needs to better their, you know, customer, or better who they're serving, the people that are on that base. And by having those certifications, you're offering them a contracting vehicle to award a contract to you. That's how those certifications work, is if you're 8A certified and you identify an opportunity, it's a potential for sole sourcing, you know, as long as you're within that threshold. But that's how you need to think of certifications, is how can that contracting buyer get to me easily? Because we see a lot of stuff that's advertised as a set aside, but then when they get the bids, they're too high above the government estimate. I don't know who does the government estimates, but yeah, so then what happens is then it gets taken out of small business and goes unrestricted. And that's kind of what's happening now because of fuel costs, material costs. So I'm not sure, you know, that's one thing that we're trying to work with the agencies on, is, you know, increasing the government estimate because of the economy. Nobody ever knew that this was, you know, we were going to be in the situation we're in now. So, you know, those are things that you need to take a look at as a small business. And Alice, right? Elise, her name spelled so unique. Elise, she provides such good information and websites that you can take a look at for histories, and just a lot of, you know, valuable information to you as attendees. Go ahead.
So you mentioned earlier about the GSA schedule
Mhm.
and someone that can perhaps help you with getting the waiver.
Yes, so right now GSA has a requirement that you have to be in business for 2 years. One of the things that they've recognized is that some businesses, you know, have the potential to be successful. And why they had that was because they had like hundreds of companies that had a GSA schedule, but hadn't generated $1. So what they're looking at is trying to, increase the number of companies that are on there, either through vehicles of joint venturing or, working with somebody who already has a GSA schedule. So those are options to you. It's really try to think outside the box when you're a small business, because you have to diversify, you have to pivot with what's being advertised and what's out there, because you really don't have a choice. The government's forcing you to work with one another. It's no longer, I'm just looking at engineering. I'm looking at architectural. I'm looking at construction. I'm looking at professional consulting services. Now they're combining, requirements. And, it is a form of bundling, but it also saves the government money too when you do a design build project versus designing it and then coming around to build it when you find out, oh, well, that's not going to work. Now we have to go back and redesign it. So there is some cost savings that, the government is taking a look at for some items that are put, or some services that are put with one another.
So if you were me, who would you contact about that locally to get access to the GSA schedule?
You can contact PTAC, contact your PTAC office. Yeah. Yeah.
And say, hey, I'm offering up with my company.
Yeah.
There's a waiver.
Well, there's not a waiver. There's basically what it is there a way that you can work to get on schedule? So it's not like the 8A certification where you've been in business less than 2 years, where you can apply for a waiver to apply for or to get certified in the 8A program. Because there are companies who have been in business less than 2 years that can apply for a waiver. So there's no such thing as a waiver for GSA, but are there options that I can get on schedule? That's what you're looking for. That's the question that you're asking.
If you're local, I can connect you to the small business specialist at GSA. She's based in Oakland.
Yeah, so,
She can help you with the schedule questions.
yeah, so she can, and then she'll probably forward you to PTAC, but, and you can contact the PTACs the closest, because they don't help you get on schedule. They just provide you information of what, just same thing, like SBA doesn't help people get 8A certified. Otherwise you're gonna say, hey, well, you helped me. I should have gotten certified. So, they basically, get your file after you've been certified. So we get a lot of questions, how do I get EDWSB? Well, here's the checklist. We did have a question for SBA. If an EDWSB, a certified EDWSB firm joint ventures with another company, do they lose that certification?
No, if you are already certified in any of the categories, that certification can attach to the joint venture. So you can, as a joint venture, assuming you're still small, because you gotta be qualified as small, under the joint venture, then you can compete for those set-asides across all of the socioeconomic.
So what you're saying, as long as your joint venture partner is small under that.
Well, you have to together qualify as a small business under whatever NAICS code for that contract. So, so that's going back to the mentor protege. In the 8A program, why a lot of people mentor protege and then eventually form a joint venture with the same entity is because that's kind of the exception to the rule, if you will. There you get the automatic presumption of being a small business. If you were to joint venture for someone who's not your mentor, then we have to do a size calculation to make sure that together you qualify as a small business under that particular NAICS code for the contract. So yes, the short answer is yes, but then we got to look at the details.
Yes, so basically it's all dependent on whether or not you're small as a joint venture and you would qualify. Okay, and then there was one other question for EDWSB that we had. What was that, Jeremy? No. Oh, okay. I guess we answered. Well, we answered. Okay, really good. So, okay, so are there any other questions that we have today? Okay.
I have a couple more.
Okay.
So,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, so my first question was, we just talked about the GSA schedule. And you may have mentioned it before on the slides, but does the Navy have something that is similar to the GSA schedule? That's question number one. And then number two, I know there is kind of like a preferred vendor list that some contract specialists work with. And so how does a company like mine get on like some of the preferred vendor lists?
What preferred vendor list are you talking about? As far as,
So, for example, like, this could be a myth. I could be
okay,
misinformed.
okay. That's what I'm like, what preferred, you know, it's something we don't know. Is it the,
Private sector.
yeah,
vendor
yeah.
lists, but-
the good old boys network? No, I'm just kidding.
Like SAM.gov
Yeah.
only represents a certain percentage of all the federal government contracts.
Yeah.
Right, that are to the public, right? There's like some acquisitions that we don't see, like the simplified ones.
Oh, yeah,
Or the micro. ones,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I want to get when those specialists are looking for companies. I want to get on that list that they have.
Well, see, that's where you would do your marketing. Yeah, that's why they talked about sending your capability statement, researching the contracting officers that are buying what you're selling or the services that you're selling, and that they have your contact information, that they put it in their own list. We have been asked by Indian Health Services, because, you know, we're a Native American PTAC, but now they have a new requirement that we've been pushing, finally have gotten through. That's the Buy Indian Act. Because, hey, you service Indian people, you know, Indian people, you should be buying from Native-owned companies. So what they have is they have what they call an Indian Economic Small Business Set-Aside Program. And you have to be at least 51% Native American owned and a small business. So they have developed a database that they have a list of companies, and you have to be from a federally recognized tribe. And so they keep that based on their NAICS codes, their UEIs, their capabilities, what they do, so that they can go in and search. And a lot of agencies are starting to develop their own databases. FEMA does that. If you go onto their website, you fill out the information, you get put onto their database so that they can search this easily. Now, nothing against SBA, but sometimes the dynamic small business does not work. And it won't, you know, depending on the time of day and when you go in, it'll pull up the information, or it only lets you search so much. So sometimes contracting officers will contact, you know, PTACs, or they'll have their own internal databases where they can just go in and search. Now, of course, granted, their information may not be up to date. Maybe somebody registered last year, but now they've added new NAICS codes to it. So it's really up to you as a small business to give that contracting office the most up-to-date information about your company. It's your responsibility to give that agency what it is that you do. If you've developed past performance, that they know you now have past performance, because they're not going to go and search looking to see, you know, okay, now this is what they're doing. They don't have the time to do that. That's why they have PTACs. That's why they have other resource partners, the Women Benefit Centers, VBOC, to help them to funnel through this information. They just need to know, I'm going to do one search. If I don't see the company there, this is who I'm choosing from. And that may be what you're talking about, your preferred list. So that's why, you know, you need to, you know, don't email them every single day, but if something changes within your company, maybe now you have access to, you know, a particular brand of cameras that, you know, the government buys. Say, hey, I'm now an authorized distributor of, you know, Canon cameras, and I can now provide you fulfill orders up to $10 million, you know, something like that. That's what you need to let that contracting officer. That's what we always tell our businesses. Let them know what it is you're doing. Now that you're a government, you know, vendor, you know, who you've partnered with, now you've expanded your expertise. You can now do not just design build, now you're doing HVAC, you know, now you're doing, you know, distribution of steel, you know, so on. So that's what you need to do as a business. Okay.
And I'm seeing a big uptick, and I don't know if it's unique out here. I don't know if it's happening inside the Beltway too, but a lot of agencies for the smaller, under the simplified acquisition threshold are going 8A. So we're getting, especially this time of year when it's the crush to spend.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot come through 8A
Yeah,
too. So
September is September is Small Business Month, is what the Navy likes to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's when we see the most spend in small businesses, the month of September,
Yep.
because that's when we get, a lot of businesses go directly to 8A. And then that's when they can award to small business directly, and they get the money out the door. So we call it the month of September is when we do most of our money with small business.
And the other thing too is 8A is a good contracting vehicle, but really understand what it is. Understand how to grow in the program. If you're going to be a supplier of products, you're probably gonna not grow very well in the program. If you're a service provider and you can be a prime, you're gonna do very, very well. And a good example that I can provide to you is that I had an engineering company that I got into the 8A program. He's like, Vanessa, I haven't gotten any opportunities and it's been 6 months. He goes, everything, you know, I'm bidding, trying to capture work. And I said, well, you know what you need to do? You need to get your contractor's license and become a design build company. Once he did that, and he was now the prime, he went from doing $450,000 to doing 9 million the next year. And now he's actually a large business. So he's figured out, you know, a way to grow. And that's the way you grow, is by being a prime, or, you know, looking at expanding what it is your offering is. So, you know, those are things that you have to think. That's why I said, always think outside the box. It will really help. Or, you know, just sit down with Victor and say, hey, this is my idea. What do you think? Victor, I say, hey, well, I don't know. You know, so, you know, that's why it's always good to bounce, you know, your ideas off of people, because, you know, you go in and see Julie and say, hey, Julie, and Julie's like, well, you know, I had a company. So, you know, and it's, we're just telling you what we've seen, and it's up to you. It's still your business. You make the decision. You know best how to run your company. So, you know, is there,
I have a question in regards to the 8A. I think that is the reason you'd want to do a joint venture versus just partnering or using somebody as a subcontractor. The difference of that, I mean, I've approached businesses before, and obviously they ask, well, why do you want to, you know, be a joint venture versus just using us as a subcontractor?
Yeah.
And I know that there's stipulations in regards to the, like, how much the main contractor has to provide or perform, you know, for under a certain set aside.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking that might be a good reason, or what's
Well,
like a
under
benefit?
8A specifically, you joint venture because you're not capable of performing that whole contract by yourself. So you need, it's either a capacity issue, or maybe there's pieces of it, like you do A, B, and C, and somebody else does D and E. So it is, you're basically saying, I'm not capable yet at this point in time of doing this by myself. I'm going to partner with this partner venturer, and we'll do it together. And then hopefully it's a growth opportunity for the smaller business as well.
yeah.
Because you can't use them as a subcontractor just to get the other piece.
I mean, you could sub, you can, what you're talking about is the sub rules, limits on subcontracting. So you got to make sure you're performing your minimum percentage of work, and that'll vary depending on what type of contract it is. But yeah, you could sub.
But, and the other caveat on that is that if let's just hypothetically say it's a woman-owned small business set aside, and, you know, you can do a part of that, but you find a subcontractor that's another woman-owned small business certified company, that's similar situated. So combined as teaming partners, you can self-perform on that contract. So that's another way, because a lot of things you have to take a look at in joint venture is that it's like Julie said, it's a marriage. Whereas teaming, you're just dating. You know, if we go to we go on this and we're like, ah, this doesn't work out, you know, you can always, you know, the teaming part can always walk away. On a joint venture, you know, that doesn't happen. So those are things that you need to think about. And I always tell businesses, if a large business wants to work with you, wants to joint venture with you, look to see if they're going to provide you subcontracting work, because it's for you to see whether or not that relationship works. Your business ethics may not be the same. And we see this so much from, you know, joint ventures. So it allows you to see whether or not you both mesh with one another. And if it looks like, you know, potentially work out, then maybe you move to the, you know, to the next step. So those are things to, to consider. One's just temporary, the other one's long lasting. So, divorces can be messy. No, just kidding. So, do we have any other questions? Well, I want to thank the Department of the Navy for setting this up with our PTAX today. We are very grateful that you provided us a lot of good information that I wasn't even aware of on the websites, but that we can actually assist our businesses to walk through that process. And then also, SBA, Julie, with all the information that you provided, just clarifying some of the requirements and some of the rules dealing with small business certifications. And then meeting Victor for the first time. Well, I don't know, I guess we met before, I just don't remember. But yeah, it's good for me to know my PTAX up in my state PTAX up in the northern part of California. We're in Huntington Beach, so I know all the Riverside, San Diego, and LA. So it's good to partner and network with the PTAX up in this area too. So if there aren't any other questions, I want to thank you everyone for, staying with us this afternoon. And we hope to see you. Okay, all right. Here.